Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Dr. Music Podcast, where today, sitting in with me, Daniel Freyberg. Daniel is probably best known for his time as a guitarist in Children of Bodom. He has been a multi-instrumentalist and vocalist in bands like Naildown, Norther, and others over the years. Daniel is the guitarist for a new band project called Crownshift. Crownshift will release their self-titled full-length album on May 10th. That's just a few days away, man, on Nuclear Blast Records. Daniel, thanks so much for being here, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, man. May 10th, it's here. I got a quote in the press release, and it says that you, Juka, and Heike swore that one day we would do something together again. This promise was fulfilled in 2019, and since then we have been working on Crownshift. 2019, it's 2024. You had a little bit of COVID to battle in there, those COVID years, and I'm thinking, that probably didn't help, but maybe it did. So tell me about the timeline and how, from 2019 to now and how Crownshift came together.
Well, yeah, you already basically said it, and the COVID didn't help it really much. It was a time that everything was pretty much on hold, and this wasn't no exception.
Okay.
And labels were basically, they didn't. I sensed that they weren't super interesting to sign anything new at that time. So we just figure out it's better way to better time to get this band out. So, yeah, it was a long wait, but ultimately it was worth it because we found the best label behind us and good management and everything. We needed that everything need to be in place before we announced this band. So, yeah, it took a little while.
Yeah, it did. But I'm thinking, in some ways, could it have helped? With the writing and stuff, you had plenty of time, right? Did it help with the writing at all?
Um, well, yes and no. It gives you more time to do whatever, but then again, when you don't really have a deadline, it's kind of a two-blade sword.
Right.
Um, but yeah, of course, we had because of that we had more time to finish our record, so
Uh,
I guess it helped a little bit.
okay. Yeah. And it's a pristine record. It ebbs and flows. It works as a full length record. I'm old school, so I love to listen beginning to end. And this record really, it punches you in the gut and in the front, and it takes you on a journey. It's really the sequencing and everything is really great with this record.
Hmm.
It goes in a few different places. And that's something that is a little bit it was different for me from listening to what you've done previously. It's a little more progressive sound. Did you have any intention going into the record? Did you say, "Hey, I want to do something a little more melodic," or "I want to be heavier," or was there any intention when you were writing the record?
Not really, and we never really had a conversation that what style we should go for because I think we've been knowing each other so long that we already kind of knew
Yeah.
in somehow at least the ballpark what we're gonna do.
Uh,
So yeah, but we of course never really set any limitations to ourselves that so we just you know tap into areas that we liked and yeah, it was pretty natural process. Everything came out pretty organically and
nah,
there was
that,
no forcing or such.
yeah, and that's usually the best way, right? Everything
Hmm.
happening just the way it's supposed to. It's something that really strikes me on the record. The dual Mirage to the other side. Mirage being the instrumental, kind of before that, to the other side, a 10-minute epic song that really goes into different places. Something that was unusual from your catalog that I really felt. So a really progressive surprise for me on the record, and it's probably my favorite track on the record. So it's crazy great, just really cool. Did that feel different for you? Did you feel like you were going in places you haven't been before with those songs?
Well, yeah, I mean, especially to the other side, it's you know, quite different from the rest of the material and being such an epic long track. And yeah, that was kind of there was a point when I wrote that song that somewhere around like two second chorus or something that this could be the logical point to end this song. But then something just told me that keep telling me that yeah, you have to see where this goes because I kind of sense that there are ingredients to make a quite epic song. And then I just, kept throwing everything that came into my mind. And it turned out to be, it snowballed pretty big song. And yeah, I'm happy that I looked at card.
Yeah, it's
and Mirage is kind of like a calm before the storm. It's very tranquil instrumental.
hmm
And it felt like an instrumental right away.
yeah,
And yeah, it's a different kind of challenge to write instrumentals because you don't have vocals to keep it interesting. So you have to kind of replace vocals somehow.
right.
Uh,
Yeah, the
yeah,
vocal kind of brings that human element into it, so it's difficult to do a song that's connects with the human being that without the voice. This does for sure. It's really moving, and it's you can almost it's lyrical in its presentation as an instrumental. It speaks to you in some way. It spoke to me for sure. That those two together are just stunning. I mean, just stunning. Really great.
thank you.
Crownshift, an interesting name for the band. Where's the name come from?
Well, it's kind of like a, um, shifting power, beginning of a new era. That's how it's kind of symbolizes. And it felt very fitting
Yeah,
for us and our like current stage of our career,
yeah,
ground shift. And yeah, it's always like a difficult to choose the name for the band because you have to live with that for
yeah.
the rest of your life. But it felt just right, you know.
It sounds right. It was
Yeah.
interesting. It wasn't, a little bit ambiguous where, I didn't know exactly what you were going for, but very interesting and brought up a lot of questions. So yeah,
Right.
got me interested. Just the name got me interested for sure. Um,
Oh,
the writing process for you guys. Do you do all the writing? Or do you write together? Are you in the same room? Do you bring in an idea and everybody works on it? How's it work for you guys?
well, usually it starts that from the music. I usually do the chorus song, uh, do demo with guitars, program drums, bass, keys, and whatever it may have. And then I just send the track out of the guys. Um, they usually just, you know, tweak their parts, thinking or practicing or tweaking or whatever. And then we just go to rehearsal place, just fine tuning and kind of play the song through a couple of times. And
Cool.
they may have some ideas that, hey, how about instead of your fill, I could do this kind of fill or this kind of bass line or whatever.
Right.
So we don't really spend that much time together when we are writing because, everybody can do their thing on their own.
Yeah.
And vocals those were kind of a different. We actually for this album when we were recording vocals we kind of wrote all the lyrics and the vocal lines on the spot and made the arrangements on the spot. So it was very intuitive way. We have actually we've been doing that in the past, our previous bands, a little bit, but not like the whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it worked out very well. It took a lot of time, but it was intuitive and fun.
Yeah, that's great, and that's really important, man. You gotta. It helps to enjoy what you're doing for sure.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, there are
Yeah.
a lot of guys out there that are doing stuff that they don't really love. They don't
Mm.
love the atmosphere they're doing it in, and it's unfortunate. So it's really
Yeah,
it's good to hear that you guys enjoy it. You know.
yeah, it needs to be fun, at least some percent of it. Yeah.
Right, right, right. There was a quote from Tommy also in the press release here, and I want to read that to you. The big story, which is mostly fictional, is eclectic and quite dark. There are songs such as A World Beyond Reach, My Prison, and The Devil's Drug, and these titles give clues about the story's plot. He goes on to say the lyrical themes revolve around personal transformation and resilience in the face of adversity, symbolizing the quest for personal growth and inner illumination. It sounds as if there's a concept. When you were writing it, is this a concept album? There are these concepts and these ideals and themes within the record for sure. Did you have a certain storyline? Would you consider it a concept album?
Well, it's actually not a concept album, but most of the lyrics just happen to, you know, uh, being around the same themes somehow. And it's just, our way of writing stuff. So they end up looking like probably like a concept, but
Yeah.
it's not really a concept.
Okay, yeah,
Just separate storylines.
yeah, that's kind of what I got from it. And like I say, yeah, similar lyrical and thematic elements in the record for sure.
Exactly.
And especially ending with "To the Other Side," really was a fulfilling high on top of the mountain, almost a rejoicing kind of sound. It's just an incredible song by itself. But at the end of at the end of this record, with all those themes working toward that, I really felt like my journey had ended at the end of the record, and I won. I was at the top of the mountain.
Mm.
It's really, really, it's a well crafted record in the way
Thank
that
you.
the lyrical thematics of it and everything too really works not only on an instrumental level. So it is a fun record to be a part of as a listener for sure.
That's awesome to hear.
It is really great. It's really great. You got a lineup of guys here. You got Juka and Nightwish, Heike Fintroll. Everybody's got a project on the side of this. A lot of fans are going to ask, is this a one-off? Because you guys are so busy with other things. Will we see more? Is Crownshift a band project? And, do you plan on doing more as Crownshift? Or was it just something fun to do for you guys on the side? Uh, I've read that this is a band project and it will continue. Can you tell us a little more if that was a discussion when you guys were putting the band together?
Absolutely. And none of us are like side project guys. We're too lazy to do that. So, if we put so much effort for a record, we want to, at least to take the most out of it. And that goes for a band as well.
Yeah.
And definitely that was the one of the key things we wanted to make clear. And what do we discuss about that? If we're going to do this, we're going to be a real band, and you guys have to sort your schedules and whatever. So yeah, it's going to be it is a real band and not a project at all. I know that there is a lot of question. People have these questions, and sometimes they get a little bit ahead of things. But I can assure that there's nothing to worry about regarding our schedule
That's
with
great.
other bands.
It's great. It's great. And we get those other bands as well, and that's exciting because
Yeah, exactly.
we love
Yeah,
those other bands too. So yeah,
absolutely.
you're putting a lot of music in the world, and it's we need that for sure, for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
uh, so many people know you from Children of Bodom. But with Children of Bodom, it always felt like Alexi's band. He was
Mm.
the sole writer and vocalist and lead guitar in that band. And did you ever, because here you're writing everything, pretty much, and then taking it to the guys. You're a writer, and you're a hell of a lead guitar player. Incredible. So in that band, as a fan looking in, I see that there was so much that you had to offer, but you couldn't, or it wasn't called for necessarily in Children of Bodom. Did you ever feel like you should have been offering more in that band, or did you ever feel like you were being held back?
No, I pretty much knew when I what I was stepping in. I knew that who is the creative force behind the band, and I didn't have any doubts that it would change. So, Alex did a one hell of a job.
Oh yeah, yeah,
He's a was a great guitar player and great songwriter, and he
yeah,
doesn't really need help.
yeah,
So in that way, I knew always my place in that band,
right,
and yeah,
yeah,
it
yeah.
was it was totally cool.
Yeah, good, good. And, we miss Alexi. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah. We still have that music, of course, and we always will,
Hmm.
which is great. Crownshift is the same lineup, pretty much, right, as Naildown. Very much like Norther. It's
Hmm.
you three guys. You handed off the singing duties to Tommy this time. Does this feel anything like that? Does it feel like a continuation maybe of Nail Down for you? How is it different for you?
Yes and no. There is a little bit maybe continuation, but because we have Tommy doing the vocals and he's doing one hell of a job,
Yeah,
it kind of feels so fresh and new that it doesn't really fit anything our past
yeah. It,
bands.
it's weird.
And
It's weird. Because I know it's the same lineup and it's supposed to sound similar or sound the same, but it doesn't. It really, like you said, it's fresh and new. And
Mhm.
it's a little more progressive, maybe. Is what I'm trying to put my finger on why it sounds different. And of course, Tommy is incredible here. Really strong outing for him. It's just great. It's a whole new band, which is really strange because it's the same guys. Uh,
Yeah, but there's also a little bit time passed since the last time we played together, so also the songs might be a little bit evolved
yeah,
from what we did back in the day. So
yeah,
yeah, and of course, like bands when we were playing in Norther, there was other songwriters in the band as well, and it was more like a democratic regarding songwriting, and it was a very different band and worked very differently than Crownshift does.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Was that ever a concern for you that it might sound like those other bands and you might not have the distinction of being Crownshift?
honestly, I didn't really think about it too much. I
Yeah,
just want to get to music, good
yeah,
music, and doesn't really matter if it sounds something I've done before or not, as long as it's good. It's good.
Amen, man.
Yeah.
That's
And
for sure.
quality needs to be there. So
Yep. Yep.
that's the most important thing.
We want good tunes. We want
Yeah.
good music. It really doesn't matter
Right.
to us as fans and listeners either. So, um,
Yeah.
why not do the vocals yourself? How did you decide to bring Tommy into the picture here?
I mean, he's much better vocalist than I am. He can do things I can only dream about. So there's your short answer.
Where
And
did you know Tommy previously, and bring him into the band?
oh yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
we go back like 2005 or six. We used to be on the same record label with our previous bands. So that's how I got to know him, and he was always in my mind when we were thinking about singer, because he's the kind of, there's not many guys in Finland who can do a little bit everything
Yeah.
like Tommy does. He can pretty much, step whatever area and come out top of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's why, and he's also a very good guy and the type of guy that I knew that we would get along. And that's also important.
I was gonna say
Uh,
that's very important too.
yeah. Yeah. And Tommy was our first choice. And then when we had these songs, I called him that because we've been having these talks like back and forth in the pub or whatever, every time we meet, that we should also sometimes try to do something together. And then when the opportunity came, I asked him to come down my home studio and try a couple songs. And the guy just nailed it. And I was like calling the other guys right after he left that we don't really have to. We can stop looking the singer.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The record, it has some. It's a melodic death metal record. There's that heavy vocal.
Mm.
Really screamer type vocal, but then there are melodic parts that he sings out, and he just nails it. I mean, it just
Mm.
great addition to the record. Really gives it a diversity that not all of the genre has, I think. It really puts a lot of texture in the record. It's really, really great.
Yeah. I mean, having a vocalist like Tommy, from songwriter perspective, it feels like being a kid in the candy store because you don't have really much limitations.
Yep. Yeah. That's
And usually there's always somebody in the band that sets those limitations. But I feel that this time, we can pretty much do whatever comes into our mind.
yeah. Do you ever fear, like, from a fan standpoint, when you do something, like something to the other side, like it's long, and will the fans like it? Does that ever come into play for you when you're writing? You kind of want to do what fans expect you to do, so you don't lose anybody, kind of. You
Mm.
don't want to cut a country record, because everybody will go, what the hell is this? So, does that
Mm.
ever play into when you're writing? Do you ever have a restrictive kind of line that you don't cross?
Not really.
Yeah,
I don't really think about anybody else when I'm writing because, well, the way I see it, if I can impress myself of writing, and I should be the first person to impress when I'm writing something, then it's easier I'm pretty sure that everybody else will like it too.
yeah, yeah.
Because if I wouldn't like it, if I would do something like just, you know, okay, it's good enough, let it go. And that wouldn't work.
No.
But, I'm pretty much people will like to the other side,
Oh yeah.
despite it's a little bit epic and longer, because it's still pretty awesome song. you know.
It's crazy. It's crazy, man. It's just I can't get away from it. It's just such a great song. It's super powerful, man. Yeah, fans are gonna absolutely love it. I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's great that you're doing what your heart, where your heart takes you, where your soul is, and we feel that. We feel that out here for sure. Um, you got some European tour dates through May, June, July, August. Any plans to come to the U.S.? I'm here in Chicago. I'd love to see you, man.
Oh,
What's
oh
the tour
man,
look like for you?
we would love to come there, but I don't think it's not realistic anytime soon, especially, i- with emerging bands coming to stage, it's just harder and harder.
Yeah,
And well, we're gonna try, but I can't promise you that. But I would
yeah,
love to come to stage. It's
yeah,
been a while I've been touring in States, so
yeah.
I definitely miss being tour on US.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, I might just have to come to Europe to see you, man.
Yeah,
That would be
welcome.
fun. That would be fun.
Hmm.
It's been too long for me. So, yeah. Daniel, I appreciate you, man. Thanks so much for hanging with me. CrownShiftOfficial.com. The record comes out on May 10th on Nuclear Blast Records, self-titled Crownshift. Daniel, it's been great, man. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks for having me.
You got
See
it,
ya.
man. A door is
Bye.
always open. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.